Good afternoon and welcome everybody. It's Terry Houston at HR Strategies. Welcome to today's session on Ask the Expert specific to performance management. These series really here are to help you get more value out of your investment in SAP SuccessFactors, to be able to ask questions about things that you're not using, would like to use, to be able to follow up and how to do things that you've forgotten how to do. If we can't answer them in the session, the goal is to get you the data and information you need to help you move forward and utilize the software at a better pace. So it's meant to be interactive. If there's no specific one-on-one questions, then what we have is a PowerPoint presentation around best practices in performance management and demo sites available where we can show you some of the features that have not been rapidly adopted inside of SAP SuccessFactors. So there is the ability to go into the Q&A and ask specific questions. So if anybody has questions up front, that would be great. We can start with those questions. And otherwise, what I'm going to do is bring up the presentation around best practices in performance management. We'll review some of those characteristics, and then we'll show them in the overall demo suite. Okay, so let me share my screen here. Okay. Okay, so as we said, here's Ask the Expert from a performance management perspective. So wanted to talk a little bit around the key characteristics around best practices in performance management. Really the changes, the things we're doing inside the system now, how we can really move the needle around performance and engagement inside of organizations. So obviously there's a big move out there in the marketplace to move people from an annual review process, which is your traditional appraisal approach, to something a lot more continuous with check-ins and using continuous performance management. So, we're asking, these are questions we're asking our customers about where they are in their journey around performance management. So while you look at these questions, it's really about helping you understand, where you specifically are here. So would be interested to know how many of you are actually using continuous performance management in the SuccessFactors product suite and how you've been able to morph and take advantage of that, especially now with the remote workers. I think it's one of the greatest features that's really helped keep us connected with our remote workforce by having those more regular check-ins with our employees. How are you guys measuring the review effectiveness? Have you done anything around asking surveys at the end, either inside of the performance management solution or with products such as the Qualtrics product that's available from SAP SuccessFactors, to really understand what people are feeling and how people are feeling around your overall review process? Are you doing anything for pay for performance? So maybe some of you inside SuccessFactors have both performance management and compensation management turned on. So you're really mapping well performance over to pay, and that's, part of the value of creating that pay for performance culture. So how are you identifying top talent through your performance review processes? And what are you doing with that data and information? Are you bringing it back into recruiting? Are you aligning that information to help you understand the type of people you want to hire for those specific roles? Are you using performance management for just more than the annual reviews? Are you doing your first 90 days? Are you doing performance improvement plans inside the system? I mean, these are all ways to get additional capabilities inside of performance management. And then, of course, from a training perspective, how are you helping and providing managers and leaders training on using the system, and more importantly, on giving consistent feedback. We're in a generation now where feedback is more important than ever. We all have it, even, me in my 50s, can't say, wouldn't want to go back to my old car where it never told you that, somebody was in your blind spot, or, constantly gave you feedbacks with lights and buzzers. We're all in a feedback centric environment. And of course, the millenniums strive on their feedback, or not strive, I should say that they um, really use feedback to keep connected and to see how popular they are with Instagram and Snapchat, and for us older people, maybe even us doing it on Facebook, out there on the marketplace. But we have to make sure we're giving feedback in the right context. So are we training our teams on those types of developments inside the suite? Do we provide training around the review process? So not only just how to launch a review and fill it out and when to do it, but how to do it effectively, how to use all the tools that are built into the system, like writing assistant and coaching assistant, and how to not just copy those exact words, but to modify it themselves, how to remove bias in the overall performance cycle. So training is much more than just, yes, they can use the system. It's helping them get the most out of the system, and to help us get the best data from managers out of the system around their employees in an unbiased format. Performance management is often thought of as being rear view thinking, and this again applies mostly to that continuous performance management. So, what are we doing to instill in our organizations the capabilities to capture data and information inside of performance management, either using continuous or not using continuous, that stops them from being rear view like mirror like analysis of performance reviews. So, if you do it once a year and you're sitting there and we're trying to think of what our employees have done all year, and we have a hard time thinking past the last 30, 60 days, and we're evaluating them on that. So, again, really changing what we're doing from a performance management perspective. Most organizations are using goals, but are they using them effectively? Are they holding people accountable to goals? Not necessarily. They're not necessarily doing that. So how do we do that? How do we align them not only to manager goals, but to corporate goals and even corporate initiatives? Are you aware you can do that inside your goal setting? Would that be a value to you? That you want to do is to really align your organization to drive future statistics. Have you gotten to the point yet in performance management where you're using bell curving or forced ranking or 9 boxes? If you're not, these are great ways, again, to remove bias inside your organization and map to overall budgets that you have there. So we do have one question here so far. Yes, we can send the slides after if you're interested in them. The focus today really was to help you specifically get more out and make sure you're taking advantage of what we call additional product features. So very often what we find is people implement performance management based on an annual review form and never really take advantage of other features and functionality that exist inside the system. So what we're going to do today, if people don't have specific questions they want to address, is go in and look at some of these newer features that are available in the system, talk about the benefits of turning them on, and then taking, again, any specific questions that we have. So before we jump in and doing that, we just want to also remind you of pitfalls to watch out for performance management. A lot of you may have already implemented this year's cycle. Lots of people started in December and in January. But just make sure the cycle's not too long. Make sure if they have multiple managers, they're able to collaborate on the forms. You know, we want to make sure we're documenting against progression, against goals if you're bringing them in, especially to performance reviews. We're finding still that from a performance management perspective, too much is still done outside of the system. So we're still storing data and information and documents on our computers and emails. We're not bringing them in regularly inside of the system. So the review process is arduous and hard for people to find that data. It becomes really rear view mirror like. We also have a lack of accountability for managers and employees. So we're not holding them to updating their goals or adding these data and information or having regular reviews. So how do we change that? How do we mandate and make employees and managers more accountable for what's happening in the overall performance cycles? Those are all things we want to do. We talked a bit about biasness. So again, that's a big problem in the review cycle, especially if you are tying pay into performance management. Managers, all too often, they want to be the nice guy. They want to be the one that is going to get their employees the biggest raises because they rank them highest. And we've got to stop this behavior from happening to make sure that our top performers are actually being recognized both in the performance cycle as well from a compensation perspective. Again, we talked about feedback, so let's make it easy for feedback. We want as much feedback as possible, and we want it to be a system that is easy for them to access and use either from their desktop or their mobile device at any point in time. Hopefully you're all utilizing mobile as well. There's also a list of things that are available from a goals perspective, so we're going to look at and review goals as well. Okay, so that's just a quick synopsis, and we will share these slides with you. Let's look a little bit at the system and see if we can answer any specific questions that you guys may have. Okay, so I have two demo environments, one that has the full suite turned on and one here where I can log in as a user that actually just has performance management on for those of you that have that. And I think actually I'll log in as him in this system now, just so that people can see the difference between having a solution that's full of all the modules and how it ties in and correlates. And then, of course, hopefully I can log in as that person. Maybe not. Okay. So let's start at performance because this is the biggest area where we can make the biggest impact. So I'm logged into performance management right now, and this is your typical year-end review. So you can just do a self-assessment, a manager assessment, and ratings. One of the key features that you may or may not have turned on is the ability for managers to go out both internally and externally and ask for feedback about our employees and how they're performing. Feedback, as we said, is important, and we want as much data and information as possible to track on that. So if you're not turning this feature on, we highly recommend that you look at turning that specific ask for feedback feature on in our reviews. What we're trying to do in our reviews is make them more than just an annual review. So in this particular example, we have multiple managers. So again, to my point, if they have multiple managers, we want to make sure that we can have multiple managers review that capability. Here in our extended review is where we've taken this and we've added in the ability for us to come together and meet first and have our goals and performance discussion. So we highly recommend this. This is the way we would want to do it. So you sit down with your employee and your manager together and say, here's what should be in your performance review. Here's the goals we're going to review you on. Here's the skills and competencies we're going to review you on. Are we missing anything? Because nothing's worse than getting halfway through the year and finding out when we do our mid-year review that we forgot completely about the health and safety project that they've just spent 50% of their time on, and it's not even in their valuation. So let's get buy-in before we even launch the reviews. So then once you launch the reviews, in this scenario, the workflow is to do a mid-year review, an end-of-year self-assessment, an end-of-year manager assessment, goes to HR for review and calibration, it comes back for rating discussion, and then has an employee and a manager's signature. So these are the steps at a minimum we would recommend. A lot of organizations are actually going to quarterly reviews here. Okay. For some of you, you may be using this great feature called Team Rater. I love it. It's a feature that we use that helps us both maybe speed do our reviews, where we can compare side by side our employees and how they're performing and make changes. So maybe, Jackie's normally our top performer, so why is she at 2.67? Did I get on a fender bender on the way to work? Did I have a bad day? Did I take it out on her? By comparing my employees side to side on our core values or on our role specific competencies, I can look and make sure that I'm actually classifying my employees the best way possible as to how they stack up against each other. And then, of course, if I want to change her rating, I can see I'm moving her and she's moving up here on the dashboard. And if I'm done, I can save this back to the overall review that's in the system for you guys as well. So again, I like this. It's a way too to make managers look at their team and differentiate them rather than give them all fives, is to really stack them up against each other. Another feature that's turned on here that you may not all have turned on is what we call insights. So this is the capability of having those dashboard widgets that you have on your homepage available right here, so we can find that data and information inside the system. So if you haven't turned that on, it's something you may want to do just to save clicks when inside the solution suite. Okay, when I go back to my team overviews, I'm going to leave this and not save this. Let's just go into that extended review because there are a lot of areas in the site that you also may not have turned on. And again, each organization is different as to what they want visible. So these boxes up here, a lot of our customers either want them. I would say 70% want them and 30% don't want them. So how are they stacking overall? What haven't we completed? How are they ranking against each other? Of course, we want the supporting documentation, but here's the way that we see where we rank them higher and where we rank them lower, so that we know if we're going to have uncomfortable conversations inside the system. So this is our map that everything we're bringing in. So we've got goals here. We've got core values for use that most people use core values. So those are the 5 to 7 things that you want everybody in the organization to be rated on. Then we have role-specific competencies. So if you have associated competencies with specific jobs, everyone would have a unique review process. Highly recommended to get there. Of course, developmental goals are here inside the system as well. You can wait or not wait. We know you can change your rating scales. So if you're not liking the 5, if you have numbers and you want to get rid of them, you can do that. You don't have to wait at all. If you're not using these, what we call observable behaviors, we should be doing this. Again, this is one of the ways that managers can remove biasness in the process by creating what it means to be outstanding and extraordinary inside the system and the suite. I'm hoping as we go down that you guys are taking advantage of the tools like Writing Assistant and Coaching Assistant. Giving advice is to me more important than putting comments down. So if we want to give advice and put those quotes in, it's extremely important. If we want to describe behaviors, we can use this. But again, this is part of that training we talked about. We don't want this to look like a grade 5 report card. So yes, we want to give them a basis to start their reviews, but we want to train them on how to morph this to be more like them. So it looks like a lot more thought has been put into it, but knowing that it still has this constraints around it to write it in a way that doesn't steer conflict in our discussions around our employees. Legal scan, everybody should be using legal scan to make sure there's no nomenclature being used that's unacceptable inside of our organizations. So I hope that you're taking advantage of that information as well inside our reviews. Okay. You see, I think there's another question. Are there associated fees with these different features? These features are all available, so they're all part of performance management. It's just your ability to turn these features on or not turn them on yourselves inside of the system. So what we can do is tell you at the end if that's something you can do by yourself or if it's something you would need a partner like HR strategies to do. But typically the extended review is something you would just create yourself. You should be able to do that in the back end. And as for the ask for feedback, I'll double check on that. But again, I think it's just turning that capability on inside the system and leveraging it. You should be able to do that yourself as well. Okay. All right. So good questions. Keep questions coming. So let's go into one of the other areas that I love in the system, which is what we call presentations. So I'm hoping you're all using this. If you're not using this, I'm sure you're going to turn this on in the back. And this is something that, again, you can just turn on and take advantage of and use. It's part of your performance management product and solution. So presentations is the ability for you to come into the system, take any standard template that you have PowerPoint wise and bring in dynamically screens and reports and analytics right inside from SuccessFactors. So if I double click on this and put it in presentation mode, if I'm doing my talent review as Jeff Hale, I can come in and see my direct reports, even my dot matrix report. So this dynamically changes. So if my report structure changes, this screen changes. I don't have to come back in and update this. So if I want to come in and look at my objective status for my team, it's here. And it's a completely drill downable live report. So if I want to see who's behind, I can come right in here when I'm meeting with my boss and I can see specifically who's behind on their tasks. And we can filter this still just like we can before. So we can filter this based on, you know, departments, direct reports, indirect reports, again, all based on role permissions inside the solution suite. If we continue on and look at some of the other slides that are available here. Come on, close out. This is when you're glad that you're actually SuccessFactors customers when we have this problem. So okay, it's causing me an issue. Let's try this one. So it's not just your systems, it's everybody's systems that has problems at times. Let's go back into the presentations because there's a couple of other great slides as examples that I just wanted to show you. And of course, you can create your own, you can share them, you can make them private. So you can create these as templates as well. So let's go back and go through. So we got through the goals. Let's go in. So here's, I don't know how many of you are using 9 boxes, but 9 boxes really helps us understand. And 9 boxes come with both when you have performance and succession turned on. But here's how we can see our performance and potential. So if I want to compare Stephanie versus Ben, I can come in to the solution and easily compare the two based on their talent cards that are available here inside the system. So that's great data and information. This is from Succession. So this is tracking high potentials. If you have compensation turned on, we can see all of our employees, see how they stand up versus compensation. Here's our competencies versus objective 9 box. Again, there are tons of these reports and analytics that can be built in just for performance management. You don't have to have other modules turned on to receive benefits out of presentations. But the beauty of this, as I said to you, is the fact that you create these presentations once, and then you can go into any meeting, whether it's weekly, monthly, or annually, and be able to do this at any point in time. So let's go into continuous performance management. I'm hoping most of you are using this and have, as I said, adopted and morphed this based on everybody, not everybody, but a lot of organizations really shifting to a remote workforce. So what continuous performance management is the ability for me here, this is my own stuff, and here's my employees over here, is to come in and start to record our activities. So as I said in my example, if somebody's responsible for getting a new health and safety app, they can start to put activities in place here. So, if they reviewed SuccessFactors health and safety app, and yes, there is an extension for health and safety. If you'd like to know about that, ping me. I could come in here and add that type of activity, and I can align it here to my goals. And when I align it to my goals, it actually feeds the goals in our goal situation and brings it into our overall performance reviews. I'll show you that as well. So we can come in here and add these individual activities. We can also come in here, and I have quite a few through these demos, is add discussion topics we want to talk to our boss about. So I can add a topic here. I've chosen leadership course, remote internet improvements, and need to discuss increasing my headcount. So these are all things that I want to talk to my boss about inside the system so that we can have these meetings. We meet with our managers all the time. The problem is when we meet with our managers, it's very infrequently that it happens based on how to improve the individual person's performance, what tools we could give them to do a better job. It's all around deliverables for selling products or services or supporting people in our organization or year-end finance or accounting that has to be done. So enforcing these meetings creates the ability for managers to have one-on-ones specific to how they're doing inside the solution. So above and beyond activities are major achievements that have happened. So we can come in here and we can see that I've got a customer rating of 10 out of 10, and I requested feedback from somebody and I got feedback here inside the system. So again, it's important for us to be able to come in and be able to describe our achievements, link them to activities, link them to goals, and to store this data and information inside the system so that we understand on how we're performing and our managers clearly understand how we're performing. The last area is the whole feedback section, and this is all roles and permission based. So I can request feedback, I can view feedback requests, or I can give feedback. And again, if you don't want your employees to just ad hoc give feedback, we give this capability only to managers. So here we've given feedback and we can see that it's linked to a specific goal, and we can click and view that inside the system and make those feedback happen. From an employee perspective, it's very similar, so again, request feedback, view feedback, look at activities and achievements that have happened inside here. But we can also capture meetings. So when we've met with Ants and Gayo, we can capture that meeting and it records it that we've talked about these activities and achievements and that we've talked about the topics that are specific to this. And we can set rules up behind the scene that say if a manager hasn't had a weekly, if you want it to be monthly or quarterly meeting with their employees, it gives them those notification and nudges to be able to have those meetings. So if you haven't turned continuous performance management on, I strongly recommend that you do that. When we jump into goals, I'm just going to show you where that feeds that specifically here. So here's where that continuous performance management feeds in. So we can here see anything that's associated to that specific goal here. We're showing also the advantage of having learning turned on and linking to learning. But more importantly, also we wanted to make sure you're aware of these other features about the ability to cascade goals. In SuccessFactors, you can actually cascade upwards as well as downwards inside the organization, which is a unique feature. We can mass assign goals. Again, this is all roles and permission based. If we want to create a goal that's for the entire team, we can launch that team goal here as well. So we want to be able to do that. We want, again, who can edit it, and that is all up to you. We can have goal alignment spotlights here in the system where we can really focus and get more analytics around the total number of employees aligned to this goal, who's not aligned to the goal, how we're competing on it, and being able to do that as well inside the solution. Okay. So I don't know what more from a goal perspective, if anybody has any questions around goals. The data and information, obviously, that's visible here. You can allow employees to choose themselves what they want visible here, or as an organization, you may have locked that down. Again, it's all now about creating an employee experience. So more and more organizations are turning this on so that they can see the data and information that's specific to them here in the goals capability. From a goals, everybody knows there's the SMART goal wizard, I'm hoping. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. It's important to use that if you're new to goals. And then if you're creating new goals here, you know that your goal template is completely configurable as to what you want to capture in the system. You can add milestones, add deliverables. You can have strategic. And even here in one of my other examples, maybe if I get a chance, I'll show you. This is where we can also link to overall corporate initiatives. It's something that's often not done that I think is really important, especially from a reporting capability, because we want to see alignment to those initiatives. So if you haven't turned that on, again, that's something you can configure and add to it. If you need our help, we can certainly help you with that as well. Okay. Team goals. So let's go back and look at other things in performance management that we haven't. So we talked about, the other area that we were going to look at specifically were the other types of reviews that you can do. So too often, as we said, people are using just the annual review. They're not using it for other reviews. So there's a 90-day performance review here. Again, where we can get feedback, where we do a manager assessment. That's just a very standard one. There can be performance improvement plans, a lot more complicated of a workflow around performance improvement plans. So let's set what the review is. Let's review it. Let's accept it. Let's assess, assign it and assess it themselves, the manager, second manager, and then second stage. Again, all completely configurable for you. If you're not using the system for that, it's something that I would highly recommend. Then let's go in and look. If you're not using the 360 feedback capabilities, it's something that is becoming more and more popular. And if you're still on the old view of the 360s, you're going to see the new 360, which is certainly much more attractive than the old 360. So I'd highly recommend you make the move to upgrade to the new 360. And again, you can do that on your own. You don't need any help from any consultants. It's in your upgrade center specifically. So in this 360 feedback review, so we've shown you a couple ways to do ad hoc feedback. You can do it in continuous performance management. You can also put a icon on your desktop that shows to ask for feedback specifically there in the system. And then the way the managers can do it inside their performance reviews and go out. But if you want, true 360 feedback, this is where you would create and utilize these forms. So here it is. We got employee information, review dates. We select our participants, an introduction, competencies, strengths, developments. We're going to show these overall ratings. So what happened first was Stephanie went in and picked her nominators. So if we go down here, we're going to see who Stephanie chose as a nominator. Now, as Jeff Hill, our manager, I can come in and add additional participants. I can delete ones that she's chosen here inside the system so that we can have the right people that both of us agree on that are going to be reviewing Stephanie Thorne in this particular case. So what's happened here is we've also given the ability to add specific competencies. So we're giving them the opportunity to take a standard 360 form and add competencies. If you want to lock it down, you can do that. You can see here we've had features, areas that are non-removable. So everybody's going to have to address acting responsibly, communicating effectively, inspiring and motivating others. So they'll have to be here. We can use this type of free-form field where instead of ranking them, we have them describe strengths and we have them describe developmental opportunities. And you can see we have an overall rating capability here as well. And once we've chosen all of our people, we could send this specifically out for ratings. And again, this is just a sample that's in our demo environments, but completely configurable to meet your needs. And certainly a lot more attractive than the old 360 that used to be in the system to utilize here as well. Okay. Let's just go to the home page. One of the features that I really like that I find most companies don't use at all is what I call the show me feature. And that's this little icon right up here, and it can be used at any time. And what it is the ability for yourselves to record videos and launch on each and every page, specifically what somebody should be doing on this page. So uploading soon will be a tour of, how to navigate your home page. I should have turned the volume on for you guys, but basically this would be a video telling them what the home page is all about. So you can have this show me feature on all of your pages so that in your performance management page, if you record that feature, you may not have to train new hires as regularly as perhaps you training them now by using that as well inside the solution. Okay. So that's a feature if you haven't turned on. Again, I'd highly recommend that you turned on inside your solution suite. So that's some of the features that we're seeing that are really new inside of SuccessFactors or being adopted more regularly. Does anybody have any specific questions to, a unique configuration they have, to something else that they would like to see or turn on? What I can do is, if you want to as well, if you're not using mobile, show you how we do these same features that we were all just looking at on our mobile phones as well. Because mobile, especially for organizations that have people that go from site to site, if that's still allowed, it's important for us to be able to allow them to track those activities in continuous performance management as they're going, from site to site. And we know now that that can feed both our goals and our performance management. So why wouldn't we want them to be able to come into the system and be able to add this specific details regardless of where they are inside the system as well. So I'm just firing up my SuccessFactors app, and there's a trial of it. If you just go into the App Store, both on your mobile or your Android phone, you can just try it out as well if you don't have it already turned on in your systems. And turning mobile on, again, is not something that's difficult. Couple clicks and a little bit of testing, and away you should be able to go. Okay, let me swing my phone over here, and hopefully you'll be able to see my phone load here. It's taking a little bit of time. There we go. So this is our mobile app, and here's where I can come in and see my team, my direct reports. If I go into my to-dos, if I have performance reviews to do, I can come right into the system and actually see and review those performance forms right here on my screen. So anything I can do in my laptop, I can do right here in my screen. I can also review other people, as you can see that I have them here in the system. And when I go down here to my activities, this is where I can go into the system and be able to add, discussion add new activities here inside the system and link them to my goals, and then add new topics, and then of course, receive feedback, request feedback right here, give feedback and request feedback inside the solution. So adding mobile is something, if you haven't turned it on, that just might help you guys get a lot more out of your overall performance management solution as well inside the system. Okay. So that's a very high level of mobile for you. So you're a quiet audience today. Typically in our Ask the Expert sessions, people have specific things that they're trying to accomplish or want to do in the system that they're just not familiar with. Happy to dive, into each of your systems. We're offering complimentary health checks, just to go in and look at what you've got, look at what your goals are from an organization perspective, and help you make sure that you're getting more out of the solution than potentially you're getting out of SAP SuccessFactors now. Obviously, if you're interested also in, if you're just having performance management and you want to look at, turning on compensation or succession, we can help you that way as well inside the system. This was the landing page, and there is the capability here to do that feedback icon. That's the other place we talked about specifically here. Okay. So they can have this as one of their dashboard icons as well. So nobody needed anything. Nobody requested us to go into the back end and show them how to change anything. Sometimes it's shy, if you're in front of a group of people. So let me just put up my slides again and make sure my contact details is on here. So if anybody does have any questions, they can reach out to me directly, and happy to set up a session with you one-on-one, do a review again of the system, what's available, what's new that you may not be aware of, and help you maximize this investment, because truly it still is one of the, if not the best performance management solution out in the marketplace. And in my eyes, it's the best integrated talent management solution on the marketplace. So you shouldn't need to move away from SuccessFactors. You just need to start to adapt some of the new technologies that are available to help you get more out of the product, so that you can retain and engage and increase performance inside your organizations. So thanks everybody for joining today. As I said, please reach out to me. We want to make you successful. We want you to get the most out of your SuccessFactors investment. If you have any questions, you can email me. And as I said, if you want us to dive deeper, take us up on a complimentary health check, happy to do so. Have a great day, everybody. And thanks for spending the last 50 minutes with HR Strategies.